Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. On the 08 machine, I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Western Washington Amateur Television Society is a group of amateur radio enthusiasts that take to the airways with fast scan television. We have a repeater located up on Cougar Mountain. We transmit on 70 centimeters. It's a crossband repeater and spits out images at 1.2 gigahertz. To find out more about the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, please Google WW7ATS. That's Google WW7ATS. That'll take you to our homepage. There you'll see the exact frequencies we transmit and receive on, a little history of the organization, and also you will find a link that will take you to YouTube, where we stream our nets held Wednesdays and Saturdays between 8 and 9 o'clock. Also, we'd like to thank the SeaTac Repeater Association for letting us use WW7STR's repeater 147.08, and note a specific tone of 103.5, a specific tone of 103.5 for this net for Cougar Mountain. Again, this is Dave, KD7CYM, and this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. I'll pause in case anybody has emergency traffic or needs to make a contact before the net gets fully underway. This is Dave, KD7CYM. Hearing none, welcome to the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. Members already checked in via video link is Ron, KD7QKU, Bert, N7CS, Bob, K9BQ, Jim, N7QO, James, WU7N, and myself, Dave, KD7CYM. Is there anybody else wishing to check into the net? Hearing none, let's start the net rolling, and we'll start with Ron, KD7QKU.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Dave. This is Ron, KD7QKU. Good evening to the group. It was a pretty nice day. I don't know how hot it got here. I think I heard 81, but I didn't actually look at the thermometer, so I don't know. I guess I told you that I had to have my backflow valve, tested on my yard sprinkling system. Did I do that? I said, okay. Well, I got a letter from the city saying I needed to have it inspected, so they sent me a list of people. I mean, it was a long list. It had all kind of names, and even on the back of the page it had names. These were certified people, apparently, that could do it. That has to be tested by somebody that's certified, and they have to fill out some kind of a form, I guess, and send to the city. So anyway, I made my selection, and I thought I'd share my selection with you. You might get a kick out of it. So first of all, I'm looking down the list, and some of them have contractors' license numbers, and some of them don't. And a lot of them, you could tell by their names that they were probably a different nationality or something. And so I finally went down the list and I hit this one. It was called Mike's backflow testing. So needless to say, I thought about Mike, and he had a license number, so he was licensed. And I thought, now here is a guy who I'll be able to talk to, and I'll be able to understand him, because he's probably, American. Or they're all Americans, but he's probably white like I am. And Mike, they don't use that name very often anymore. That's my son's name. He's 60 years old, so this guy's probably, 50 or 60 years old. So I dial him up and I get him. He turned out to be a really nice guy. We had a nice conversation. He hasn't come out yet. He's supposed to come out this week. Maybe he's not dependable. I don't know. Find that out, I guess. but he seemed to be reasonable, and so anyway, but I told my wife, geez, it was hard to make a decision which one of these guys am I going to call. So I said I chose this guy with the name of Mike. Sounded good to me. All right, let's see. I've been reading a couple of books, which I normally don't do. I guess it's because I'm bored. But anyway, I read one book, and then I ordered another one in the series. The guy only wrote 4 or 5, so I'll run out of them. I need to save them for winter. Read them in the winter when there really is nothing to do. So that's about all that's going on over here that I can think of right now. So I'll send it back. Nice to see Bert. Glad you're home for a few days, and of course it's good to see everyone. Bert, I guess you know what's going on with Richard. Okay, yeah. All right. So back to Nat, KD7QKU.
QKU. Let's go to Bert, N7CS, our world traveler.
Okay, well, hello everyone. Hopefully I'm transmitting. Let's see. Okay, let's see the thumbs up. I just got back from about a month in Australia and then a week in Alaska. So Australia was pretty fun. Flew out there on a economy flight, which hadn't done that in a while on a flight that long. So that was the flight going to Australia was not so bad. It was completely empty row, so I was able to lie down across 3 seats and have the whole row to myself. The flight coming back wasn't quite like that. It was a full flight, so I kind of had to, squeeze in there. But luckily, the people in my row, we were all kind of the same general size, so it kind of worked out for everybody. So it wasn't so bad. I managed to get a little bit of sleep. I don't usually sleep on planes, but yeah, in Australia itself, weather was good most of the time. I think it's technically winter there, but it wasn't really that cold. We managed to hit all the ports that we were going to, except one where the waves were kind of high, so we weren't able to use the tender boat or the water shuttle to debark on that island. So we missed one port. That was Morton Island in Australia. I had been there, I had done 4 of these cruises back to back, and it had stopped at this particular island on one of the previous itineraries. So I had been there a couple of weeks earlier, but there were some people. That was a 4-day segment. There were some people that flew from the U.S. just for that 4-day cruise, which I thought was a little odd. But they really wanted to go to that island because apparently it's where they filmed the live-action Scooby-Doo movie from 2001 or something, and they were super Scooby-Doo fans. I was kind of surprised to hear that, because I had no idea that was a thing, that people were actually Scooby-Doo fans in this day and age, but especially of the live-action movie that came out in 2001, but oh well, apparently they exist. Oh, it's been 2 minutes, so I'll turn it back to Net. This is N7CS in Marysville. Back to Net.
Yes, thanks with that, Bert. Let's go to Bob, K9PQ in Bothell.
Hey, well, good evening, everybody, and Bert, good to see you here with us. And yeah, Australia, wow, I would love to visit there someday. One day I might, and New Zealand as well. But the Scooby-Doo Island just cracks me up. I had an opportunity when I was in Ireland to go to the island that they used for filming the latest Star Wars, where they had the island scenes. It's an island just off of Ireland, and I could have gone, and I just didn't want to squeeze it into my trip, but it was it would have been a good time to go, because I don't know if the movie was even out yet. I mean, they had done the filming, maybe the movie had just come out, but it was not, there weren't millions of people trying to get there at that time, so I could have gone there, but I passed, and I didn't miss it that much. I mean, it would have been kind of fun. It was an interesting island to begin with, because it used to be a monastery, and you go up there and there's really almost no dock. You know, you have to just get there at the right time of the tide, and then you just climb up this very steep stairway trail to get up to the top. And but yeah, the Scooby-Doo Island, that's pretty hilarious. I remember the commercials for it, but I never saw it. I'm having a hard time seeing somebody being real excited about the Scooby-Doo live-action movie. It got to about 75 here, warmer inside, and it's slow to cool down in here. I might actually turn on the AC. I've been holding off as long as possible, but I might actually turn it on because it is going to be hotter tomorrow, and it's better to cool it off ahead of time than to try and catch up after it's already hot. So I think that's gonna be kicked in this evening, and give myself a nice cool night to sleep. Okay, I'll send it back. K9PQ. Oh, I do want to mention, Bert, the 2-minute thing is only necessary for Echolink. It will definitely bump you after 2 minutes, but outside of that, we're okay. Okay, back to net. K9PQ.
PQ, thanks for that. Let's go to Jim, N7QO in Covington.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Good evening, everyone. Bert, good to see you. I don't have a camera tonight. Let's see, Ron, backflow testing. My goodness. I don't know. Good luck with that. I wonder if it really needs to be tested as frequently as they want. I don't know. Don't know exactly what to think of all that. Bert, Australia and Alaska. That sounds really good. Scooby-Doo? Yeah, that's funny. I wonder if that may be on someone's bucket list items from when they were 2 years old or something. Maybe, I don't know. Different people want to see different things. I guess whatever they want. And Bob, I seem to remember something about that island, seeing was it a documentary or just some little special that was on like Seattle Refined or something. No, it wouldn't be on Seattle. Anyway, I saw some video on that. I don't think it was particularly long. Kind of intriguing, but yeah, I don't know. I'm past the point where I don't want to leap off of ships and climb cliffs to see something anymore. Let's see, at my house here it got up to about 84 today. Right now it's 76 outside. Really a nice day. It rained quite a bit last night. I can say that. It was all wet this morning when I woke up, and we got some rain yesterday during the day as well. Back to you, Dave, N7QO.
N7QO, get an ID here again. This is the Western Washington. Let's go on to James, WW7N.
Hey Dave, we had the accelerating motorboat join us again while you were talking. It drowned you out. So I'll ask here, how's my audio quality tonight? That's good. I'm putting about 3 watts into a J pole perched on the edge of my new deck, and I find I have to, because it's omnidirectional, I have to have it a little farther away from my monitor and 1.2 gigahertz antenna or it interferes. Well, backflow testing, Ron. You know, I wonder, I'm really going to be on the edge of my seat for the report of how they do this. Is it like with an air compressor, or they just pour a glass of water down the pipe, or, you know, how do they ensure that you're not backflowing, and why would that matter? flights, I have this religious prohibition against taking an economy flight over a large body of water, and it must be respected by any employer who wants me to go anywhere. But I did take an economy flight, I think, or, yeah, I'm not sure it was economy, but it was just normal class, I think, as a teenager going from Texas to Germany. And as I recall, I was surrounded by screaming babies the whole way, which really didn't bother me, but I just thought, you know, if screaming babies bothered you, this would really be bad, because it just went, the whole flight was like that, as I recall in my brain. I have to say thank you for the people coming all the way to Australia, the other side of the planet, for a 4-day cruise to see Scooby-Doo Island. That is funny. I could, you know, for some reason, I guess it just depends on, you know, where your head is at, because doing something like, you know, doing that for an eclipse or something, I kind of see that, but to see an island where they did a live-action movie that, I never saw the movie, so I shouldn't say, I've just seen pieces of it, and it just seemed weirdly odd, you know, that the cartoon, when it turned into a live-action movie, I even question whether it was for kids anymore, or maybe it was for baby boomers who saw the cartoon as kids. I'm not sure what the target audience was. Anyway, Bert, it is good to see you. Glad you're back for a bit. And Bob, Star Wars Island, come on, you're past that up? I mean, they weren't going to fly you out in a spaceship or something? I mean, you know, that would, that too, I mean, I guess I've just seen more than one set. A set is a set. I guess it's kind of cool sometimes, but to see how they did it. But I much prefer to see the documentaries of how they did things. Like last night, I learned that the original Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, it was black and white, so they used a particular color of makeup, and they put him on blue light. And then as he changed, they changed the blue light to white light, which caused all the creepy things to happen in his face. And the producer of that show, or whoever came up with it, didn't ever reveal that secret until he was on his deathbed, and then he told everybody how he did it. And everyone else kept their mouth shut too. That's amazing that he could keep a secret that long. When I remember, so apparently the Desi Blue Studios hired, let's say, beefy people to watch out, because whenever they did the original Star Trek scenes where people were beaming out, that was done with mirrors, and there were spies trying to climb up on the edge of the fence and see how they were doing that. And so there were people who, you know, would, I would imagine, being that is the day of you hired your own security, and if you crossed private security and got all beat up, that was your problem. So I can imagine what those guys look like. But yeah, they had to chase away the spies to keep their beaming secret a secret. Let's see, deck project I would call completed. They did it in 5 days, tore 2 decks down, and put up 2 pieces of siding repair and 2 decks, all in 5 days. Came back on Monday and hung a door in a frame and replaced 2 pieces of window glass. That was fascinating to watch how they did that. But watching them work destroyed any fantasies I had that myself and my neighbor and a guy in Kent was ever, the 3 of us thought we were going to do it. No, I don't think that would have worked. Although it might have made some good YouTube videos, we wouldn't have got the deck up in time, because the painters now are coming in 15 days now, so we just made the deadline. Although ironically, I talked to the chief painter person, and most of the deck is not to be painted, but the siding they repaired, and I hope the door and the frame and everything will get painted. So it'll be interesting to see how that all comes out. Question, did anyone hear any motorboat noises when I transmitted? No, everyone's shaking their head. So apparently, Dave, so far you're the only one with the motorboat noises, so we'll have to see if other people have them. This is James, WW7N in Northeast Bellevue. Take it away, Dave.
WW7N, this is Dave, KD7CYM, and this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. That's on the 08 machine. Oh, for me today, domestic chores around the house and then watching wonderful Olympics. Very interesting. Then I got a chance to go out, run a few errands, and come back, and the Olympics were still on. So anyway, I did a lot of Olympics today, and then got some chores done around the house. Boy, and for Ron, backflow That sounds like an exciting thing to have done. It'd be interesting. I imagine they probably take a quart container or something and hook it up to the faucet, turn the faucet off and on, and see if anything drains out of that quart of fluid into the system. So that would definitely show that the black backflow is working fine. And for Bert, oh my gosh, from one end of the globe to the other in 1 week, I think that's pretty exciting for travel. Congratulations on doing something like that. And for Bob, I guess, you know, if they're going to do Star Wars, you could have asked to just be beamed up by Scotty, and that would have taken care of the problem completely. So this is Dave, K87CYM. So I'm going to send it back to Ron, K87QKU.
Okay, KD7QKU. I was just sitting here wondering how many times Bert's been around the world now. He's probably been around the world in air, and he's almost been around the world in water, I think. Pretty close. The world traveler. Yeah, that was interesting, Bert, about the Scooby-Doo and people. Kind of amazing, like you say. To each his own, I guess. And James, yeah, it's really nice you got the deck finished and got your door all put in. I'm wondering if they're going to paint the building the same color, or are they going to change the color? I've seen your building. It was, I can't remember what color it was, but it was a nice color. I mean, it was, I want to think it was brown or maybe gray, but I'm thinking maybe it was brown. I don't know. But anyway, and yeah, I remember Bob's trip. He showed us some pictures of his trip to Ireland and some stuff. It was really good. I just don't know. Let's see. What else did I do? Grocery shopping, taking the cat to the vet. Just normal things. Got gas, you know. Gas over here is $3.95, which at the Safeway service station, it's better than it was there for a while, but it's still, in my opinion, too high. Seems like our mailbox here lately has just been full of political people wanting donations. And same with some of these conservatories. My goodness sakes, today we got something from the Ocean Conservatory. I think if you donate any money, and my wife I think has, to any of these organizations, I think then you get on the list and you get something from everybody. I'm not talking about politicians, I'm talking about other things. I've told her don't give money to anything, but she doesn't listen. I don't mind it if she gives it to the, senior moment, food, down in Seattle for Thanksgiving for the Salvation Army and stuff. If she wants to donate for the meals, I don't mind that, or some heart or something, but anything else, I wish she would. So that's about it. I'm just rambling on here. Always good to see you guys and hear what everybody's been up to. So back to that, KD7QKU.
7QKU. Let's go to Bert in 7CS in Maryville.
Well, let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else from Australia worthy of talking about. Well, the Morton Island was the only place in Australia the ship actually went. The other ports we went to were in Vanuatu. So I had never been to Vanuatu before. Originally we were supposed to go to New Caledonia, but because of civil unrest we went to Vanuatu. Vanuatu was pretty nice. Just did water-based activities for the most part, nothing too exciting. The same kind of thing I would have done in the Caribbean, but it was nice to be, in a new country. In Alaska, that I just got back from, when I was at Icy Strait Point, I did an excursion I hadn't done before. It was like a nature walk where we were going to try to look for bears, like on a platform and look out at a big field where there might be bears. I didn't actually see any bears. The guys were pointing out something that they said was a bear, but it was like a mile away, and it was a little black dot. Even with binoculars, all you could see is a black dot. So I am curious if that was really a bear or just a rock. But I'm going back to Alaska in a couple of weeks, and just for the hell of it, or the kick of it, I signed up for that same excursion, and I want to see if they point out that same black rock or not as a bear, because I am really curious now if that was like really a bear, or if this is just the one. They have this like rock there that just they point to people and say, "Oh, it's just a bear sleeping." So I'll know in another 3 weeks whether the same rock is a bear or not. But and let's see, that's probably it for right about now. So this is Bird and Marysville and 7CS. Back to that.
The unbearable communications that you had in Alaska. Let's go to Bob, T9PQ.
Love it. Good story. I am very interested to hear what you find out on the next excursion, because I can just see, they can say, we will guarantee you see a bear. We will guarantee it. And that's how they guarantee it. Let's see. Backflow. James, I know I said this before. You must not have been on the net. I'll say it again. Why they do the backflow testing, and that is for public health. Because if you think about all of the water in your house, everything that flows into the drain, there's an air gap in between the faucet and the drain. Even like the outflow of your washing machine. It's just a hose that drops into an open pipe, because you always want to have that gap. That way you don't get any, if forever the water flows backward in the pipes, which can happen, you don't ever get the foul water getting into the water system. And but with a sprinkler system, that could happen. With the buried sprinkler heads, if they somehow there was water coming back, it could suck in water from outside around the sprinkler head and get into the system. So there you go. That's the backflow, the reason for testing the backflow. That is an outstanding fact about Jekyll and Hyde. I love that. I love that. And I can just see how you can do that with black and white. You never could do that with color, of course. But with black and white, you can make that happen. And I find it pretty cool, too, that not only did he keep the secret, but everyone on the production had to have kept the secret as well. So that's pretty darn cool that they did that. What else do I have here? The donating. Ron, I had that experience. I donated to the symphony once. And I started getting a whole bunch of requests for donations from all kinds of other places as well. And I'd never donated to the symphony again after that. So, that definitely happens. And the charities all kind of get together too and know each other and share information, and so you'll get contacted by a lot. The worst are the political ones, so by far the worst. And it's not even donating. It's just like if you ever give them your contact information, you're going to be hearing from them for the rest of your life. Okay, well, I think that's it for now. Just a really cool fact about Jekyll and Hyde. Very cool. And something I came across, the most bizarre thing, it's called friend.com, and it is a device that it's a pendant you wear around your neck, and it's got a little button to push, and it's always listening to you, and it's got AI, and it then sends text to your phone to talk to you, and so it's aware of what's going on around, and they have this really creepy trailer for it on YouTube, so check it out. It is one of the weirdest things. I mean, you would think you're looking at a Saturday Night Live skit. It's just really weird. Okay, back to net, K9PQ.
K9PQ, let's go to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO. Thank you, Dave. Jim. Yeah, accelerating motorboat. I only heard that on Dave. I did not hear that on you. Your signal did fade a couple of times but otherwise it was okay. FYI, your picture, it looks like the background is a whole lot darker than normal. It almost looks like maybe the lights are out or something, but you've got a light illuminating your forehead. It seems to be a bright spot there. Otherwise, I've got pretty good pictures on the 1.2 gigahertz. I see Bob's Mountain there. Let's see. Good job with the deck, getting that completed, and home improvements still in progress. Bert, that's an excellent idea with that bear. You should call them on that somehow if that sleeping bear is still there. It's like, hey, wait a minute, is he dead or what? Maybe it's not a bear. That's a great idea. And well, now that you're home, I know you received some equipment. Maybe have a little fun experimenting with your gear for a little while anyway. Bob, yeah, I don't know. I was scratching my head. It seems to me that in order for you to have backflow through a water line, the whatever is coming in must exceed the pressure of the city water system. So I don't know. Like if you have a sprinkler system, even if you break a sprinkler head, it's not like there's any pressure that's going to enter the lines with a broken sprinkler head. So I'm not sure exactly what they're trying to do with that. I do have at my house the hose outlets. They are anti-siphon valves, and I don't exactly understand why they are there. But I can say what they do if I hook up multiple hoses and turn them all on. Once the water pressure reaches a certain low level, then it starts cutting off the hose outlets, so I don't get any water. So like my wife can't water on one side of the house and me on the other side of the house at the same time, because it will reduce the water pressure at both hoses. Not exactly sure what the idea is there, but maybe there's I'm sure there's some rational explanation where there's some method where you could connect your hose to something and the pressure would exceed the city water pressure, but I'm not aware of anything, so I don't know. I just scratched my head on that. And also, Bob, when you were transmitting, your transmission cut off right when you were about to give us the URL for whatever that website is regarding AI. If you repeat that, please, I think we would appreciate that. Back to you, Dave, N7QO.
QO. Let's go to James, who's all decked out for his painting.
Well, I'm going to try something here. I'm going to see if I can share an image. I've never tried that on Jitsi before, so we're going to start screen sharing and then see if when we share it, if it comes through or not. This is interesting in that there's not too much with Jitsi. There doesn't seem to be too much aspect ratio change. So it's coming over 1.2 gigahertz, and the caption reads Oh, I just love these things. They're crunchy on the outside and have a chewy center, and the two polar bears are chatting there while they're having lunch. Well, Bob, I could just see this is becoming a, let me see if I can stop sharing now. Did it stop sharing? Okay, all right. That was kind of a gutsy thing to do in the middle of the net, but I figured we'd get at least halfway through, so that worked. I can see this is just the beginning. If I understand you have this pendant around your neck, and you push it, and then the AI starts talking to you. Is that the idea of this thing? Friend.com? Is that kind of what it does? Sort of, yeah. Well, I could see one that you can't take off that could be like prison.com, and then you could have another one like kid.com to track you and constantly, like when your kid's about to do something naughty, it would know, and it would start talking to your kid about the consequences that will happen later. You know, before you know it, we all have a little collar with somebody talking to us. Yeah, it does sound creepy to me. We need to hear more about this. When it comes to bear watching, I think I just invented my own cartoon. It would be people with looking through the binoculars, and they're saying, "Hey, I can't see any bears out here at all." And then out of the corner of the binocular, there's just a big snout and an eye. I think that would be a good one. That's an original there. But, thank you, Bob, for the explanation on backside thing. As I recall, in Texas, this was a deal for agricultural places. You had to have all kinds of things that would only allow the water to go. Essentially, they're water diodes. They only allow water to go one way. And so I remember we sucked our water out of an irrigation ditch on the back of one place I lived at, which no longer exists. I looked at it on Google, and they have completely turned the whole giant area into a big water control area for flooding. So don't know what where they're getting their water now. But we had a couple of those throughout the system to make sure that when you suck the water, and why would you worry about that? It's gross water. You wouldn't drink or do anything with it. I wouldn't feed it even to animals. But we watered, plants with it, crops. But anyway, yeah, so that was kind of a big deal to make sure. Maybe it was just so when we got our allocated water allocation, we didn't give any of it back. That's probably more of a reason in the Southwest in North Texas and contaminating the water supply. You just don't want to give one drop back. They actually have water police in all those states. And, if you get busted, I think some celebrity got busted for water thievery because he was sucking too much out of the stream or something. Let's see, 38 minutes after the hour. Dave, you should call for visitors, see if anyone's listening in, wants to check in and check out, or join the conversation. This is James, WW7N, back to our net control, KD7ZYM.
WW7N, thanks for that idea. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. Is there any visitors who would like to check into the net? I'll pause for that. Hearing anything. Looking for bears. A couple of summers ago, I was up in Flagstaff, Arizona, and there's a place called Bearizona. It's just outside of Flagstaff, and they have a whole bunch of bears. It's a drive-through place, and it's amazing. They have all of these bears. You'll go from sort of one area to another that's an acre or so, and travel on the road. The bears will kind of come up to the car, but they just sort of immune to the traffic, and they don't seem to wander off. But I think the most horrifying thing was there's a group of reindeers that came down the road. I thought they were going to wipe out the car, and they're trotting so fast, heading right towards the car, and just all of a sudden just moved over to one side of the car as they went by. But that was... Bears caused no problems, but it was a little excitement with the reindeer that were there. So if you want to see bears, that's a good place to go, Bearizona. So this is Dave, KD7ZYM. So let's go back up to Ron, KD7QKU.
Okay,
KD7QKU here. Well, that was interesting, Dave. I've seen some pictures where people go through these wildlife parks and the animals stick their head in the window and eat all their food or throw up on them or slobber on them or something. Take their hat or their camera or their cell phone. Well, we drove up to Alaska, with our motorhome and then spent most of the summer up there. We were coming back and we were in Canada. I can't remember where we were. My wife probably would remember. Anyway, we had this book with us called Milepost, and it told about everything that was on the highway, the attractions and the distances and everything. And she found something about bears, and so she's saying, we got to take this next exit up here. It was really interesting. We went through this little town. I mean, it was really small. One half of it was real nice and neat, and the other half was crummy. And one half was in one country, and one half was in another country, if you believe that or not. And I can't remember which was which. One, of course, was Canada, I think, or what the other one. Maybe the other was Alaska. I just don't remember. But there was something about that. So anyway, we went there, and there was this big parking lot, and there was a path and signs and everything. And we walked down the Forest Service. Somebody put it in the game department. You're up probably about 10 or 15 feet on this boardwalk, and you're looking down into this little river or creek, whatever you want to call it. And the salmon were running because it was at the end of the summer, and there were bears down there catching the salmon, grizzly bears. And there was this one young grizzly bear, and it must have been he was just learning how to catch salmon because he wasn't very good. He would chase them all over, and he couldn't catch them. And then he would get tired, and he'd sit down on these rear and huff and puff. And then he'd see another one, and he'd take off after it again. I think finally he caught one. But everybody was gathered around that area watching him. It was kind of hilarious. But we were protected because we were up on this bridge, walkway, sort of say. And I think I've seen this place in pictures. People have taken videos of it. I don't know if we have any pictures of it or not, but that's about my only bear experience when we were in Alaska. Saw a few cross the road. Maybe we saw one that had been hit. I can't remember. My friend had a brand new Jeep, and we were up by Republic, up there on the north side of the Columbia River. We've taken the ferry across, and you go through the Indian reservation. And he always drives like a maniac. He's probably going about 80 or 90 miles an hour. This Jeep Wrangler, and it's suicidal. I'm telling you, I drove it a lot too. You go very fast. It's real short wheelbase. You turn the steering wheel one way or the other, quarter of an inch, you change lanes. It's just, it's like I say. So we were going hell-bent for election, and this bear comes out of the ditch, quarter of a mile ahead of us, and he saw us coming. And so then he turns around the middle of the road, and then he goes back down to the ditch, and then I guess he decided that, he had time, he's going to come back out of the ditch again across the road. Well, my friend had gone from one lane to the other lane and back again, and darn if he didn't hit the bear. And by then we weren't going too fast. We were probably only going 25 or 30 miles an hour. And he was, I think we were sliding when he hit the bear, and the bear grabbed the fender of his Jeep and put claw marks in it. So he had this brand new Jeep, and on the driver's side, left front fender, he had bear claw marks. So he hit the bear, rolled the bear over, and the bear went down in the ditch, and he was running, and then he got back up, and ran into the woods. So I don't think he was hurt very bad, but he definitely put claw marks down the fender of my friend's Jeep. KD7QKU, back to that.
QKU, thanks for that. Well, let's go again to Bert, N7CS in Marysville.
When you were reminding me about those animals and the little car things where you can go through the car safaris, one other thing I did while I was gone is I went to Oklahoma and visited a safari up there where they had I don't know, like donkeys, and I'm not sure if it was an emu or an ostrich, and other animals like that. And incidentally, the person I was in the car with, they also had a new car, so we were afraid to let the animals get too close. But some of those animals were pretty aggressive. They wanted to come up, and because they wanted to be fed. And of course, you have like you buy little food that you give them, and they know that, so they try to come up to the car. So we had to kind of like throw some food off in the distance so they'd get away from the car and not try to scratch it up like what Ron was just talking about there. But yeah, that's funny. I forgot I went to Oklahoma in the past couple of weeks too. That was one of the stops I did, but not a cruise stop, of course. There's no way to get a ship in there. But let's see. Anyway, this is Bert and Marysville and 7CS. Back to that.
7CS. Let's go to Bob, E9PQ.
Hey, well, I've got a few things here to talk about. First of all, Jim, you're absolutely right about the city water. Under the normal city water pressure, none of this is necessary. The whole purpose of this is if there is some sort of catastrophic failure with the city water, and water literally flows backward in the city water pipes. You don't want anything sucked into the water pipes and contaminating other customers. So that's the idea behind these things, and the same reason for with hoses. I don't know if that's standard. I don't know what it is exactly with hose. I don't remember that being on our house, but that could easily have happened. Like with we ran sprinklers off the hoses, and sometimes you just have a hose running in the garden. You just have it lying down and running in the garden, and could conceivably, if there were some kind of failure, it could suck it back in. But anyway, that's the idea behind that. The claw marks in the brand new Jeep, I think that's hilarious. I think that would, that kind of fits for a Jeep. I mean, you could almost pay extra for that, for an option for your Jeep. Yeah, I've had a few bear experiences. The one that comes to mind is the idiocy of people. I went to, there was some lookout. This was up in Canada, somewhere between Banff and Jasper in the mountains there. And there was some place you could drive up that had a scenic overlook, and it had a parking area, but it was just a 2-lane road going in and out, and that was it. And so I drove in. I was on my own, saw what I saw, was driving out again, and there was a backup. Everybody was stopped, and I was trying to figure out what's going on, and all these people were getting out of their cars, and when I finally got up to the front, it was a mother bear and cubs, and all these people were getting out of their cars and running up to take pictures of the mother bear and cubs. It's like, what the heck? What's going on? On that same trip, Ron, you made me think of this when you were talking about something being on two sides of the border. There is a triple, what do they call that? Triple continental divide in somewhere up around there, around Jasper, where you have, from one point, water flows to the Arctic Ocean. Is that what it's called? I believe. And then another way to the Pacific and another way to the Atlantic. So you had a three-way continental divide, which I thought was pretty cool. What else did I have here? Arizona. If I ever get down there, I'm going to see Arizona. The other thing for you, Jim. Friend.com. The product is called Friend. It's your friend, and it's just hanging from a rope. It's not like attached to you, James. Like they might do in prison. They surgically implant it or something. No, it's not that. It just hangs from a cord around your neck. And what happens is it's always listening, I think. It's always aware of what's going on with you, but you press it to interact with it, and then it texts to your cell phone. And you'll see this in the video, so check it out on YouTube. It's friend.com, and you can go to their website. I think I saw a link to the video, but it's definitely on YouTube as well. It is the creepiest, stupidest, weirdest thing I've seen in a while, and so there you go. Enjoy. Okay, back to net, K9PQ.
K9PQ, let's go to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Okay, thanks for that, Bob. I don't know, I'll have to take a look at that. I don't know, as some of these animals, I tend to avoid the wild animal parks. I kind of think that mainly the critters are just looking for some kind of picnic baskets or something. Reminds me of the cartoons when I was growing up, seeing what goodies they can steal from you or coerce you into giving to them. So, I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, friend.com. Thanks for that. Jim, your picture looks good now. We saw it's the usual thing, slight difference in intensity between one side and the other, but that's normal. I think that has more to do with your backlighting. Your picture's good. Let's see. Dave, thanks for mentioning that about the bears somewhere around Flagstaff there. My wife might actually be interested in that someday. Ron, claw marks on the fender. Wow. How do you explain that to the insurance company? I wonder. But yeah, some people may actually think that's kind of cool. I could see that too. Although my wife would insist we fix that on our vehicle, so oh well. Let's see. Yeah, I'm still scratching my head about all this backflow stuff. There's got to be more to it than I can think of, but that's okay. Whatever they want, we'll do. Back to you, Dave, and 7QO.
QO, let's go to James, WW7N in Bellevue.
WW7ATS Northeast Bellevue. Well, that's what I like about this net. You can never tell where the conversation will flow next. And as far as, Rob, I think if your friend was driving excessive speed, any lawyer would say the bear had just claws for doing what he did. Now, Bert, we only have a couple minutes left. You have to tell us, why were you in Oklahoma?
So one of the people that I was on the cruise with in Australia, they invited me to go up to see their place in Bonham, Texas, and which is just right around the border from Oklahoma. So I went to go hang out with them for about 2 days before I went back in. So yes.
Explains it. As far as being able to get there on any kind of a cruise ship, that would be a tough one. Wichita Falls, for the longest time, had no falls. But because it was called Wichita Falls, they created them. They actually built some. Now, maybe there were falls there, 100, 200 years ago or something, but if you go to Wichita Falls now, go to their website. I find it funny because, when I was there as a kid, there was no falls. There was a little muddy creek there. But they have now created falls for Wichita Falls, Texas. So, yeah, their life advances. Also, a military base I trained at is now parkland and an industrial park. So it's kind of interesting how things evolve and what land gets reused for whatever. So, well, I'm pleased that the antenna seems to be working because my 3-element Yagi is still down behind my house, and my deck is so nice. I'm really thinking a lot about, do I want to set the Yagi on the deck again, and if so, how do I protect the deck so it's not scratched? If any of you come over to my house to see the deck, you'll have to take your shoes off before you walk on the deck. You can walk, you probably tramp mud all over my house, I wouldn't care, but now if you go down that deck, you better, And I also, there was some dust, and the guys were walking on it a little bit, and then it rained, and it actually made some mud on the deck, and it's weird, but I'll probably actually mop my deck tomorrow because it just looks so nice. It won't look that way forever, but, you want to enjoy it. While the summer's here, I'm going to mop my deck and make it all perfectly clean. It's weird. It also makes the whole rest of the house look just so bad. That's the nicest place in the house is my deck. I don't know when I was taught that moms with baby anythings are hazardous to be around. It must have been when I was quite young. Probably, maybe I was very young on a dairy farm. Maybe that's what I was told, moms with calves you stay away from. But it amazed me. I had an equivalent experience to yours, Bob, in Issaquah, Washington a few years back. There was a big old giant bear with a baby following her. And the scary thing is they've lost all fear of people in this area because she was just walking down the center of the street in Issaquah, and everybody was running up there also trying to take the picture of mom bear and her baby. And the bear was actually being quite patient with it. That's how little they fear us. Next time I'll see if I can get some shots. I was broad daylight, high noon, talking to my neighbor, and a bobcat came out, and it was making this little twirling noise. And again, this is the difference between urban bobcats and one's felines of North Texas, because I know those animals, when they hunted in the wild, would be silent, of course, because they're trying to catch something. But someone said no, that when these bobcats, urban bobcats, go after stuff, someone else said no, sometimes they make a little purring noise when they're looking, and when they see something, they'll stop. So I guess this animal is hunting. It's not the right size, right time of the year for mating, and, it's way past the time when the cubs would still be young enough to be concerned about. So I don't know what it was looking for, but it was definitely looking for something. But the weirdest thing is it just didn't care about us at all. We were standing there, and we moved, and we're pulling our cameras out, and it looked at us for a second, and then said, more humans with cell phones, whatever. And it just continued doing what it was doing. This is James WW7ATS. Let me turn it back to our net control for the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, Dave, KD7ZYM.
7N. Boy, talk about car damage on the highways. I was covering an accident in eastern Washington once, and a trooper was there. I got chatting with the trooper some of the weird things that he'd run into. And he had mentioned he was up on the Colville Indian Reservation, and he was stopping a car of rather inebriated American natives in the car, and one of them came out with an axe and sliced the axe through his front fender on his car. And so he got his composure together, and he says, "I'm armed. I want all of you guys to go over and sit on this log that was near where the car was." And so the 5 guys got out and went on the log and sat down, and he said to them, "Now I'm going to go to my car, and I'm going to radio for some help. I'll be right back." And he said he went to his car, and boy, they just disappeared into the woods. So anyway, psychology, I guess, on the job. Well, with that, I'm going to send it back for a final to Ron, KD7QKU.
KD7QKU here. Well, Ron doesn't have much for a final, that's for sure. It's always fun to listen to everybody's stories. I think Jim was thinking of Yogi Bear, the cartoon. Yogi Bear used to be the one who always was trying to steal the people's picnic lunches. I think my kids watched that cartoon when they were little. So anyway, about the only other thing I could talk about is Mike came over and picked up my Bob's saying it's time to quit. Okay, I guess it's time to quit. Back to net, KD7QKU.
time to terminate the net. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. We'd like to thank the SeaTac Repeater Association for letting us use WW7STR's repeater 147.08 for our voice transmissions for our nets. And this is Dave on behalf of the Western Washington Amateur Television Society signing off at 9 o'clock. Good evening all.